So I watched The Rise of Skyman, and it was not very good. Now, I really don't want to come across as one of those people who just mindlessly hates the Disney Star Wars movies, because I really don't. I really loved Solo and Force Awakens. I can see a lot of good things in Rogue One, and I can sorta see the good things in Last Jedi. But yeah, Rise of Skywalker is probably the only Disney Star Wars that I actively dislike. Now, I don't want to start this review by bashing this movie to death. It is not the worst movie of all time, and definitely not the worst Star Wars movie. So here are some things I did like about this movie. Oh, and by the way, two things. This is a spoiler-filled review, so don't get mad at me. And I obviously don't have footage because this movie is still in theaters, so I'm going to be rerunning the trailer a lot, and I might throw some gameplay from different Star Wars games in, so yeah, sorry about that. First off, I think this movie does one thing that this series has been begging for 3 movies. All of our main characters together. This trilogy of movies, The Force Sleeps In, The Lost Jedi, and The Fall of Palpatine, have 3 main characters, Rey, Finn, and Poe. Now this is definitely a Rey trilogy, but these are our main characters. And do you know how much our main characters are ever together? Like all 3 of them? Sort of in the final battle in Force Awakens, in the final resolution of The Last Jedi, and then like over half of this movie. Simply having all 3 of our main characters interacting in the same location makes it so easy to find things we like about them. Do you know what my favorite part about this movie is? It's when they're on Kijimi trying to find Babu Frick, and they find out Poe is a spice runner. The banter they have makes me laugh every time, and makes me love these characters. Poe has just come out to not have the cleanest history, and Finn and Rey are like, Lamau, same. It's just a great moment to show that this crew really loves each other, no matter what. C-3PO was actually good. I never thought I'd say this. He's usually a really nervous character, and while he really doesn't have any reason for personality change, anytime he talks, it makes the current scene better. His dialogue, C-3PO's, literally improves every scene. His comedy makes things funnier, his nervous screams either legitimize the tension or add humor, and the one scene where he sacrifices himself is one of the most touching scenes in all of Star Wars. I wish he was in a better movie because 3PO's writing is almost flawless. Every lightsaber fight was great. There were 2 lightsaber fights in this movie, and they both had a ton of emotion in them, and that made them super easy to immerse yourself in. Now, I'm kind of bummed out that we never got another lightsaber fight that matched the energy of the Obi-Wan Darth Maul fight, but if I'm being honest, I do prefer high emotion to high energy. High emotion makes it really easy to engage with, well, you can have a high energy fight that just comes across as dumb. Count Dooku Yoda, anyone? And those are pretty much all the things I liked. Seriously, that's it. Now, I'm not saying nothing else in the movie is good. It's just that the movie does show something that's good. It's always tainted by something that either doesn't make any sense, isn't explained, or doesn't follow its own rules. Let's dive in. This movie tries its hardest to make you forget The Last Jedi. Seriously, for a vast majority of the movie, feels like it's trying to make you forget the problem child of the Disney Star Wars. Honestly, I thought The Last Jedi was better than Rise of Skywalker, or at least sucked less. There are 2 scenes that really drive this home. 1, in the end of The Last Jedi, you see that Luke's lightsaber is visibly destroyed. It's split in half. It was kind of the highlight of the movie. Rey and Kylo fighting over the possession of the sword to show that they are equals. Not sure how I felt about this one, but that's for another video. And then at the end, the sword was split in 2. But in Skywalker, they legit just duct tape it. Really. It was a huge part of The Last Jedi, but everyone bullied Disney so hard that they just pretended it never existed. Second moment was right at the final battle. They were discussing how to beat the Star Destroyers, and one guy comments, hey, why don't we do a hold-on maneuver to do some real damage? And me as a moviegoer, I'm thinking, yeah, why not? That's a fantastic idea. But our main characters brush it off with a, oh, that won't work. Why not? Later in the movie, after the climax, we have a small montage of different planets rising up to destroy ships from the Final Order. Or were they First Order ships? I don't know. This movie seriously wants you to forget pretty much everything in the first 2 movies, so whatever. Anyway, when we get to Endor, we see that a Star Destroyer has been destroyed by a hold-on maneuver. So it does work. I don't know. This movie just really doesn't want to follow its own rules. And honestly, that's a constant theme throughout the whole film. The movie presents an idea, but it doesn't follow the rules it gives itself. So, yeah. So, here are a few examples. You need a Sith Wayfinder to get to Exegol, apparently. Okay, that's fine. And it's even shown that Kylo Ren barely gets through the massive solar flare, but Exegol is just sitting on the other side of the flare, not in it. Why don't you just go around the flare? Read the map in advance, and you don't have to risk your life to get through an optional obstacle course. Poe tries a lightspeed skip to lose the First Order, but what are the odds that he doesn't hit anything? Remember, in pretty much every other Star Wars film, jumping to lightspeed was extremely dangerous, and it took a lot of calculating. But Poe just randomly jumping to different planets and knowing that he won't hit anything is a bit too hard to believe. So they find Dio, and he eventually tells them that he has the directions to Exegol. But Luke and Lando scoured the entire bounty hunter ship and never thought to scan the droid? Really? After Rey slices Kylo's ship, and he does a comically long cartwheel through the desert, he gets up and he's fine. Like, nothing ever happened. No. I'm sorry, fam. You'd be dead. I forget her name, but the chick on Kijimi that I will affectionately refer to as Poe's girlfriend made it very clear that she's been trying for years to get off this planet, and she's finally found an artifact she needs to escape. But when our crew leaves to save Chewie, she just gives them the passage coin. Like, just hands it to them. Years of struggling and sacrifice, and she gives them this coin because... why? I don't know. To me, this is one of the most jarring character changes in Star Wars. Aside from the plot telling her to, can you give me one reason for her to give up that passage coin? 2 quick nitpicks. Don't you think it's super convenient our crew stood on the exact spot you needed to use the knife? I mean, the Death Star wreckage would have been really big, so that's some pretty sweet luck. Second, let's discuss the knife for a second. It's supposed to lead the wielder to the Emperor's vault, but think of the specifics of this. This knife would have definitely been made after the destruction of the Death Star, due to its design and how you use it. But who would have known about the Emperor's private vault after the destruction of the Death Star? Maybe Darth Vader? But he obviously died, so who made the knife? The Emperor doesn't seem like someone who would tell personal private information like that. But whatever. Next, it was made explicitly clear that they couldn't sail to the vault due to the weather, but Rey, Finn, and Finn's girlfriend make it across with no issue. Okay, whatever, I guess. Rey giving up and exiling herself to the Jedi Island is the dumbest part of the movie, and possibly one of the dumbest moves in the whole saga. Let me explain. When Luke exiled himself, he had committed a lot of major mistakes. He tried to kill a youngling, and that youngling razed the Jedi Temple to the ground and became a Sith Lord. And yeah, those are some pretty huge mistakes, so exiling him fits into this narrative. Now look at Rey. She didn't do anything wrong. But the whole reason she exiles herself is due to being afraid of what she might do. Lady, the Final Order is about to blow up the universe, like tomorrow, and you're going AWOL because you're nervous on what you might do? I mean, I'm pretty sure the alternate is way worse than whatever you could do. Plus, one of the few things that actually stayed intact across all 3 of these movies is that Rey is portrayed as an infallibly good character. There were never any true threats to her turning to the dark side, so this exile due to being afraid is completely against her character. I'm sorry, but there is no way you can defend this argument. When they were boarding the Star Destroyer in the final battle, why did they need to bring the fluffy horses? Why didn't they just land 100 yards further up? I mean, I don't know. When Palpatine realizes that Kylo and Rey have a super rare and super plot convenient connection, he's surprised. He even comments on how he hasn't seen this in generations. But Palpy, in The Last Jedi, you said you were the reason they had this connection in the first place.
It was I who bridged your minds.
Now, the weirdos of you will tell me that, oh no, Snoke said that, but Palpatine made Snoke, okay? Don't at me. When Palpatine shoots his laser light show in the sky, destroying an armada of thousands of ships, Rey then gets up and tanks that same blast when she can barely stand up. Movie, can your power scaling be a tad more consistent? And if you dare say all the Jedi were with her and that's how she beat Palpatine, I'm gonna friggin' scream. Not only do the Jedi have insanely dramatic timing, but what exactly did they do? Did they empower her? Were they helping deflect the lightning? Did they empower the lightsabers? And how exactly would any of those help? I mean, movie, can you explain it for us just a little bit? When Rey meets up with Palpatine, he says that if Rey kills him, his spirit will endure or infect her body or something like that. But at the end of the movie, Rey kills him and nothing happens. Movie, did you forget to read the script? And speaking of the script, let's talk about that, because it's on a whole nother level. So Palpatine returning is already one of the stupidest things introduced into Star Wars. Last time we saw him, he exploded, and then he just magically comes back off screen. And when Kylo Ren asks him how he survived, he says, "The Force, lol." Literally, that's basically what he says. Probably the most miraculous thing to happen in Star Wars canon, and it's just brushed off. Movie, I want to see that. Next, what is Palpatine's plan? He somehow made the biggest fleet in the universe, manned it, outfitted it, hid it, somehow, and his intent with it is to do what? To blow up all the free worlds? Well, doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of being an emperor? And also, what is his plan to turn Rey to the dark side? He flip-flops between wanting her dead and wanting her alive. I mean, just pick one. But moving away from Palpatine for a second. If Rey, Finn, and Poe are our main characters, what were their roles in this movie? Rey is kind of understood, but what are Finn's and Poe's? Why were they here? Poe is presumably the leader of the rebellion now. Okay. But please show me a cohesive coming to leadership arc anywhere in this trilogy. To me, he feels like almost the same Poe from The Force Awakens, but just toned down. And no, it's not him being more mature. He's still as reckless as before. I still can't figure out his role in this movie. But what about Finn? He goes from having arguably the best character arc in Star Wars in The Force Awakens to having something in The Last Jedi to kinda telling us he's Force sensitive in this movie. But Finn's progression in the Force is never explained or shown. Why was this even introduced if they weren't going to do anything with it? Please tell me the reason why these two characters were even in the story. Aside from they needing to be. Okay, I need to diverge for a second. Do you want to know why Rose was not in this movie except for 3 lines? Because the internet bullied her so hard, Disney refused to give her any more parts. Now, to be honest, I really did not understand why Rose was given the position she had in The Last Jedi, but I didn't want her erased from the timeline. Build her character into someone we would like in this movie. I feel really bad for Kelly Marie Tran because she didn't ask or deserve any of this. She tried the best she could with the material given, but the internet bullied Disney so hard they cut her from the movie and basically from the franchise. I'm just going to go out and say it. I'm going to step out on a limb and say it. Disney, that was a cowardly move, and Kelly Marie Tran deserved way, way better. I really, really, really want to talk about the fake-out deaths in this movie. We have 5 fake-out deaths. Chewbacca, 3PO, Kylo when he gets stabbed, Kylo when he gets thrown in the hole, and Rey. Now, 1 fake-out death would have been kinda cool. 2 makes the sacrifices feel cheap, but 3 or more just makes the stakes feel invalid. It's manipulative and really cheap. Hux being the informant is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He said his whole motivation for betraying the First Order was because he wanted Kylo Ren to lose. He didn't care who won. He just wanted Kylo Ren to lose.
Are you serious?
No. I'm not even going to talk about how dumb this is. Just no. But skipping all the rest, let's get to the final battle already. The whole premise of the final battle is that the magnetic field or whatever of the planet screws up the ship's equilibrium. But 2 things. 1, you originally didn't even know where the planet was, but now you have a detailed view of their weather patterns? Where'd you get this information? And 2nd, are you really trying to convince me that these Star Destroyers, the most advanced warships of all time, don't have a compass or a window that shows them where up is? Really? And when the original signal tower was destroyed, they used the tower on the central Star Destroyer. Okay, fine, whatever. But Finn finds it just because he has a feeling. I swear to God. The Force has been dumbed down to just be a screenwriter's get out of difficult situation card. It cheapens the Force and cheapens this movie. Do you hear me, Rian Johnson? Do you hear? Anyway, let's move on before I have a brain aneurysm. When Rey finally is introduced to Palpatine, he says that if she strikes him down, he will live on in her somehow. Now, this was something I was genuinely interested in. This was a good plot twist and made some really great stakes. If he lives, the universe blows up. If we kill him, Rey gets infected and the universe will probably still blow up. How will our heroine escape this time? She kills him. Literally. She kills him and nothing happens. It's like, but you said if she then you... I can't with this movie. I just can't. It's so inconsistent and so jumpy with its facts, I'm just left confused and disappointed. And one question, why did Kylo Ren die in the end? Give me one reason for him needing to die. It wasn't because he was irredeemable, he was already redeemed from that moment. It wasn't because he needed to die, because him building a legacy of Rey would have been a better legacy and would have upheld the Skywalker name. And this Rise from the Dark Side would have made a really good reason for the Rise of Skywalker title. This death has no reason to exist. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. And lastly, to me, the whole theme of the movie is for Rey to learn that just because she comes from a bad bloodline, it doesn't make her a bad person. She should embrace who she is and strive to clean her lineage. But the last line in the movie, good lord, I almost screamed. She is apparently now a Skywalker, so that whole theme gets thrown out the window. And don't you dare say it was foreshadowed. It was not foreshadowed. It was foreshadowed for her to be nobody, but due to the backlash of The Last Jedi, they had to do something, and now it's just stupid. I mean, are you happy, internet? Is this what you were looking for? Really? Okay, actual last thing. Why did the Knights of Ren even exist? What purpose did they serve? They were useless, they did nothing, they accomplished nothing, and if you remove them from the story, literally nothing changes. Fixing The Rise of Skywalker is going to take some work, and honestly to me, deserves a full rewrite. But I'm going to try to change some things around while keeping the general screenplay mostly intact. Have Finn to be more of a Jedi at the start. Don't hint at his Force sensitivity, be proud of it, flaunt it, maybe even use it to progress parts of the plot. Have both him and Rey training at the start. Maybe have a little Rey the Master, Finn the Padawan action. Those two interacting would have been a really cool experience. Make Palpatine more believable. First, show, or at least explain how he comes back. Second, don't have a Final Order fleet. That really came out of nowhere and made no sense. Make it to where he was pulling the strings of the First Order from the start. Because guess what? He was! Remember Snoke? Remember introducing him? Maybe introducing him at the start of the movie. And then he's not hiding on a planet, just that he was controlling everything all along because he was. That's where it was all built up from. That's what it was leading to. Keep Rey the daughter of nobody. Her being some random person mystifies the Force and made it cooler. Her being Palpatine's daughter makes the universe just feel so small and honestly kind of weak. Now this is going to freak some people out. But what if Rey did fall to Palpatine's manipulations?
What?
What if a redeemed Kylo had to kill Rey to finally break the hold of Sith over the galaxy? But in the last seconds, he somehow sacrifices himself to save/redeem Rey. That would have made his sacrifice more touching and more authentic. Would that have been better than them both starting a life together? Probably not. But honestly, anything would have been better than what we got. Generally, just make the plot simpler. Make there one giant problem to fix and all our heroes working together to fix it. Currently, there's a lot happening in this movie. Too much for most. A lot of people have deemed this movie as overwhelming and not in a good way. I'm sad Star Wars has to end on such a weird note. It's a series I love and I hate to see like this. Disney attempted to make a movie that ticks off as few people as possible, but in the process made a rushed attempt at ending a beloved franchise. So for me, 3 out of 10. A disappointing conclusion.